Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting of the Hardin County Board of Education to order. If you all will please stand, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Mr. Flynn, do you have our board commitments?
Yes. To improve our effectiveness, the Hardin County Schools Board of Education commits to keep children first, to listen, to be prepared, to be professional, to demonstrate financial stewardship, to represent the entire district and support district goals, and to support board decisions.
Thank you. And I think we are going to be treated to a performance by the New Highland Elementary Bullpup Singers. I think we got to hear them last year at New Highland, maybe. You're in for a treat.
We can hear and see
Two
them.
pieces that we're going to sing for you this evening. The first one is a bossa nova, Deck the Halls, and we have a solo group that lives in that song. Those singers are going to be Sarah Graff, Ava Curry, Ava Ramirez, and Kamaya Bryce. And then our second song is called Just One Candle, and our soloists for that piece are going to be Cambria Lena and Sarah Graff.
Ms. Johnson. So you have a resolution in front of you, and also Brendan Nagel, who we had him on the resolution for last month, but he could not attend last month, so he is here tonight, so we're going to recognize him as well. But if you'll pass that resolution in front of you, Ms. Johnson, we'll get started.
I move that we pass the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson. So Brendan, come on up. Brendan Nagel, this young man is super fast. He slipped in, I didn't even see him. But no, Brendan is a John Hardin High School senior. Hard to believe he is a senior, but he finished second in the boys 5K at the KHSAA Class 2A State Cross Country Meet on October the 28th at the Horse Park. He and his teammates finished 8th in team competition. This young man is super fast and is going to do great things in life. Great young man.
Talk close to his microphone, but tell us where you've signed to go to school.
I'm going all the way down to Tennessee at Middle Tennessee State University.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Academic and athletic scholarship.
I was getting ready to say, now let's hear
Academic and
the
athletic.
second part of that.
Academic
Is
and
a
athletic.
full academic/athletic scholarship.
And his family.
Academic
That's
First.
fantastic.
Yeah, his family's here tonight. Thank you guys for raising a wonderful young man.
Absolutely.
Did great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
All right, Ted and Heather Jones, where are you guys? Come on up here. So we had a couple to recognize, several others to recognize for the Better Together Award, but they could not be in attendance. We'll recognize them in January, Ms. Johnson. But this is Ted and Heather Jones. They're from Jones Home Center. And they are a wonderful and longtime partner of the Hardin County Schools, and that cannot be reiterated enough. Jones Home Center has given at least 2 $1,000 gifts to the HCS Residential Maintenance Program. The gifts have been used as store credit for the instructors to buy needed materials for student success. Jones Home Center has opened its doors to students, staff, and schools for as long, really, as they've been in business. From ballpark signs to yearbook sponsorships, allowing the district to use their parking lot for lunch distribution and large financial gifts, Jones Home Center is truly a part of the HCS legacy. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
And Ralph Jones was one of my teachers. Good guy.
And in full disclosure, Ted's my cousin.
That's awesome.
We thought you might know that then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Yes, ma'am. And is focus on
Focus on
academics
academics,
next. So,
yes.
yeah, so I'm Greg Sutton tonight. So come on up. This is Dr. Laura Beth Hayes.
Yes.
So congratulations to her. She successfully defended her dissertation, is now a doctorate of education. Is that right? Yes. So, yeah, that's right. So she's also the principal at North Park Elementary. So she'll talk a little bit about what she has going on.
All right, thank you. The kids at North Park are scared that I'm going to give them shots now, so I had to explain what that means to them. So I told Mark and my husband back there they have to pay attention and not be looking at the UK U of L score.
Although if you give us,
They could give you like
Updates, it'd be
numeric
okay.
updates with your hands, that'd be fine. Well, thank you for letting me speak to you this evening. As he said, my name is Laura Beth Hayes. I'm the new principal at North Park. I have survived my first semester, so it has been great, and I have really enjoyed that opportunity. I am not going to I won't say the word bore you, but I'm not going to put you through a 30-minute presentation. If you see some of this, I'm not going to go through everything on the slides, but I did want to kind of give you some highlights and share some appreciation because part of my project that I did for my doctoral program was supported by Hardin County Schools, and you all made it possible. And it was very meaningful work that is not only affecting our district, but throughout the state now as well. So I'm just going to share some highlights of that with you. So Mr. Wright's going to be my Vanna White, I think. So the inspiration behind the work that I wanted to do for my doctoral program was my son. He is in the car. We decided he probably didn't want to listen to me talk about him tonight. But my son was adopted from China when he was 2.5. There's a picture of him. And then he is now 14, but when I worked on starting this presentation, he was 13. He is a student at East Hardin Middle School, and he has been with us in that time frame. So my son was diagnosed when he was 5 with reactive attachment disorder. If you're not familiar with what that means, it's a very challenging disorder that affects his ability to form attachments to people and affects his relationships, behavior, things like that. At one point in time, he was an EBD student. He had to be restrained a lot at school. We have sought help all over the country. It has been a very challenging but rewarding 11 years of being his parents. And so I was on a mission to help make sure that more people are trained and adequately prepared to work with students like my son. I was not. When I was trained in college over 20 years ago, we never talked about trauma. We never talked about dealing with students who have had things that they've experienced that has continued to affect them. I had one class on special education, and I think we talked about it maybe in a paragraph. And so I know if I haven't been trained, there are a host of people that have not been as well. And unfortunately, it's still not the norm in college prep programs as well. So I want to do some research to try to find out how do teachers particularly feel about the training they've received, and what can we do to make that more meaningful? Because I am infinitely a better educator now than I was when I first started because of him. And so I want to share just a short little clip. He hates to talk, and he hates to talk on video, but I asked him what he wished that teachers knew about kids that have some challenges like he has experienced.
I am in 7th grade. I go to East Hardin, and I'm 12 years old. They always think that the kid's in trouble when they're frustrated and upset. Things that are frustrating about some teachers is that they always think that it was all my fault. Some things that good teachers do to help me are communicating and helping me with the things that I need to do and involving these things. I wish people knew how hard it was for me when I was little. Some things that are challenging for me at school is that it's hard to make friends and I get mad a lot when people love me. Sometimes
That's accurate.
With my behavior, due to things that happened to me when I was a baby. My advice for teachers is to get to know the students better and ask them what is wrong when they get upset.
He's like, I'm done, Mom. So I will give a disclaimer. We made that video early in his 7th grade year. He's now in 8th grade. 7th grade was his first year at East Hardin, and all of the things that he mentioned in that video, we have positively experienced at East Hardin. Previously, he was in a different district. So I do really want to brag on them. I cannot rave enough about how the staff there, admin and teachers, have really responded in that capacity, and that's why he's had such a successful 2 years there. So I wanted to throw that sidebar in. But real quick, the process that I went through at Western was called improvement science. So that is the type of work that they have their doctoral candidates complete. And so improvement science is basically looking at, let's make small changes over a period of time and then evaluate those changes to see if we made progress toward a goal. And I love this quote because I think it's a great reminder that improvement does require change, but not all change is actually an improvement. And when we look at the progress, when I say we, I mean education systems collectively, the progress we've made with trauma-informed care is progress, but not everything we have done has been a real improvement. And we have a lot of work still to go. So that's what I'm going to kind of hit on tonight. So just so you know, I kind of looked at what we call a problem of practice. And the problem that I observed as a teacher and then as an assistant principal at Creekside was that teachers do not adequately know how to manage students affected by trauma. They can recognize it, they can appreciate, they can understand where students are coming from, but then they just don't necessarily know what to do. And so I looked at, well, what could be some of those potential barriers? And so we looked at some different things through research, trying to understand, and these were kind of 4 categories that you can see there that I chose to spend a lot of my time exploring. I'm not going to read it all to you. So out of that, as I started to research, I really wanted to know, well, what do real teachers in Hardin County, not just reports that I'm reading or research articles, what do real teachers, boots on the ground in Hardin County schools, how do they feel? So I asked different schools to send a cohort to work with me. I got permission from Ms. Morgan and different people. I know Ms. Wyatt was very heavily involved in helping me with that as well. And basically, I got them together the first time just to give them a survey, just to say, like, how do you feel about your trauma-informed training? How do you feel about working with students with challenging behaviors and trauma backgrounds? How does it affect your daily life? What is your attitude toward these students? So I had 24 initially start. Some had some different medical things come up. So I had 20 that stuck with me throughout the course of the entire school year. And we kind of went through this process together. So we kind of brainstormed up front, like what did we think were potential barriers for students or for teachers working with students affected by trauma. And the research says that sometimes it's the 4 things you see here. Maybe it's the attitudes of the staff or a lack of resources, a lack of training, and then just lack of teacher efficacy. They just don't feel confident in working with these challenging students. And so I wanted to, in my first round of study with them, I wanted just to figure out, well, what are the barriers here, and how do teachers in Hardin County feel? So you can go on to the next slide, Mr. Wright. And those are just the demographics of the people that were in this study. And so we kind of worked through together. Like I said, I started with Ms. Morgan, got permission to have this group and work with them all year. We had a survey, and then we did an intervention that we worked on together. Then we did a second intervention, and then we reflected and then applied it to some others throughout the whole district. So I'm going to skip some of this, Mr. Wright. Go ahead. I'm sure you aren't worried about all of the quantitative analysis. But here's the survey that I gave. Here's just a sample of some of the questions. But there were different sections on the survey, again, to kind of look at how confident they felt, how trained, how well prepared they felt, their attitudes, and how well they felt supported by the administration and the district leadership. All right, and so it was very interesting to look at the results. Contrary to what some research shows, most people in the study, the majority of them felt very supported by their administration, and most of them felt very supported by the district. Where they felt that they had struggles, if you look at the areas with the red, those would be things like being able to control the disruptive students, keeping them from ruining a lesson or affecting other children, knowing how to respond to defiant students, knowing how to calm them or how to shift a dysregulated child and help them to calm on their own. And then there were also a lot that kind of explained that they felt they struggled to build a relationship with these students. And so when we looked at those different areas, I said, okay, well then what can we do to move forward as our first step? If everybody feels that they're kind of struggling with knowing how to respond and they don't feel very adequately trained, because that was another topic that came up, then what am I going to do for this first intervention? So again, we determined leadership really was not a concern. If you look at those numbers there, I mean, 85% of them felt very supported by their administration. We had several that felt, 95% actually felt that their training was not adequate. And they felt they didn't have resources as well, 90%. So I took those ideas and kind of meshed it together to come up with our first intervention as a training, so an additional training. So if you want to jump ahead. So I wanted to know, go ahead one more time. I wanted to know what would happen if we brought the group in and we just expanded on the training. And instead of just teaching them what trauma looks like and how to recognize it in students, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what to do when these students are falling apart in our classrooms or when they're coming to school with so much baggage that they're just struggling to get through the day. And so I worked and partnered with the special ed department. We brought in the school psychologist. I brought in a couple of peers. I think my husband came to one of the sessions because I had just had surgery and probably shouldn't have been here. So he assisted us that day as well because he has a great perspective. He's been a teacher for 22 years as well. So we went through a few months of this training, and they showed very specific strategies. I shared very specific things. I modeled, like, had another teacher pretend to be my child, and I showed them regulation techniques that we used and calming strategies. And then we sent them back to their schools to practice, and then come back and talk the next month about how did it go, what went well. So you can see, we had 3 different meetings there where we went through all of these topics in a lot more depth than their initial training. And this is not a criticism at all of the initial trauma-informed care training the district provides. They're providing what is standard across the state. But when we look historically at data and at our experience through this process, it's just simply not enough. And so at the end of just those 3 months, we saw growth in several areas. If we had had more time, I anticipate the growth would have been larger. But we did see a significant change in their ability to control disruptive students, their response to defiant students, and how they were able to keep a student from ruining the lesson maybe for the rest of the class or negatively impacting the rest of the students. And some of the areas that they grew the most were their ability to change that child's regulation, shift their brain, creating a better space for them to feel calm. All right, we'll skip ahead. Some of that gets into some math stuff. Sorry, Jason. So after we finished that first round, I met with the teachers and said, okay, now you've had more training. It looks like you're showing growth. It looks like you're feeling better. What do you need now, though? And unanimously, it was, well, we need resources. The school psychologist came and they shared lots of great strategies, but we need some of those fidget devices. We need the paint chip cards. We need some self-reflection sheets. Give us some resources. So thankfully, I met again with some leaders at the district, and they were able to provide some money to purchase what we called calm down kits. I'll show you a picture of one in a minute, but a calm down kit is basically just a box in the room that has a lot of resources in them to help students learn to regulate. If we can teach kiddos like my son to learn to manage their own feelings and emotions and regulate themselves, they're not going to be seeking ways for other people to regulate them or seeking and turning to drugs or violence and bad choices. So that's kind of our big goal as teachers, is to teach them themselves, but we have to have the tools to do that. So we got together. I met with several different people who are experts in this field, did a lot of research, came up with the kits. We trained the same group. They helped me pack the kits. We practiced what to do with them, what that would look like, and then they used them in their classrooms for 6 weeks. And so go ahead. So here's a picture of one of the kits. I was going to bring you one tonight, but my office is kind of packed up for waxing, so I couldn't get to it. But that's an example. Each teacher got one of these kits, but then they also received enough kits to take back to their teammates at their schools. So it was kind of a train-the-trainer model, that they would be able to use them, and then they would show their peers and encourage their peers to use them. And then there's some reflection sheets you'll see there as well. And we implemented these at Creekside. I was at Creekside at the time. And then I had teachers, they kept emailing me, and I had some other administrators calling, hey, can we get some of those kits too? So we kind of started some conversations with Ms. White even then about, okay, how could we expand this? And I'll share that in a minute. So go ahead. So I surveyed them again in May at the end of this second intervention of using these kits for 6 weeks. Keep going. That's the hard data there. But here's what really came out of it. 60% of the staff surveyed said they saw an improved environment in their classroom, that they saw their kids asking to use the kits, going to use the kits, other children using them, other kids going with other children and saying, hey, let's go over here together and calm down. Go ahead to the next one. We saw 65% improvement in what the teachers referred to as a student focus, which was basically a reduced disruption in the class. Some results as far as feedback included teachers felt that they needed maybe different types of check-in sheets. They wanted more textures included in the kit, and then they wanted more time and means to be able to give students instruction. So they said, man, if we had started this in August, we could have, taught, like, this is our classroom community, here's how we're going to use them. So, doing it as a 6-week intervention obviously wasn't going to get the most bang for our buck, but those were some reflections that came out of those surveys. So the conclusions that we came to from all of the research, from writing my 290-page dissertation and going through a year of working with teachers in Hardin County, is that teachers need more than just training on policies and more than awareness, and they've got to know what to do and how to respond. We need more learning on evidence-based practices so that teachers can really boost their confidence. Again, as I said, I did not feel adequately prepared, and I feel that I'm a pretty motivated individual and try to seek out, lots of things to better educate myself, and it was still a struggle for me. The practices were not enough. Teachers also needed those resources. They needed things in their hand that they could use, and the Calm Down kits proved to be a successful tool to help them in that capacity. And the Calm Down kits could really support adaptive change. The biggest piece that I took away from this as a leader is that we have a lot of work to do what is called adaptive change in our schools. I can stand in front of my staff all day and say, we should be trauma-informed, we should approach students from this perspective. But if I'm not shifting their mindset about how they're approaching, it's not going to last, because they're going to do things in front of me and then shut their door and do something different. I have to really go in and change that whole perspective. And that's where we have a lot of work to do in the whole state and in our country. We still, even in the survey that I gave, we still have a lot of teachers that really think that these students, or this population of students, should just be moved elsewhere, or they should be in a special ed class all day long and not disrupting their students, or they should be receiving, more intensive care. And maybe they should in some circumstances, but it's also our responsibility to connect with them and love them, because a lot of them, that's the fundamental thing that they need the most. And so I think that we have a lot of work to do to really shift that mindset that, hey, these kiddos deserve to be in these classrooms, and when they're being disruptive, when they're getting frustrated, when they look like they hate being in your classroom, you don't take it personally. It doesn't mean that that's how they're really feeling. That's because they need someone to be an advocate for them. And so using the kits was a chance to kind of have some of that adaptive change creeping into the schools, because I got a lot of feedback from people saying, hey, I saw my teammate using this and it was really working. Can you come talk to our school about it? Or what would you suggest? I've had, well, I'll get into it in just a second, but I've had a lot of people throughout the area asking people are hungry for more information. We'll skip on the limitations on the study. Obviously, next steps, if I had had more time, we could have done a bigger study, more teachers. There are lots of things that I would have done differently, but I think we got a lot of great information from it. So the impact, just from this study, again, the Hardin County Schools helped to fund and supported. We were able this summer to train 50 additional Hardin County Schools educators from all variety of different schools and different positions, and I got a lot of great feedback on that. I've been consistently having ongoing discussion and work with Ronnieville, and then I have also been working with I'm blanking on the acronym, but it's the GREC for Lexington area. But I've had a couple of Zoom calls with some of their leadership and been working with them. I have presented Ed Camp and trained principals from all over the state. I'm teaching a class for Western next semester, and they're in the process of writing a grant to try to get a class just on trauma-informed care for pre-service educators at Western. That is a huge need, because the teachers we're bringing in are not prepared. And then there's the whole discussion of our Option 6 teachers and others that have not had a formal traditional training that definitely need more. So we're just having a lot of conversation, which is very exciting. And so there are a lot of next steps that I would like to see happen. I think that we've opened the door to some good topics and good discussion. I've seen a lot of impact even at North Park. I was really excited the other day because we talk about this a lot, and we have, all of our teachers have kids, and we've tried to model. But the other day I walked by a North Hardin student who was kind of crouched down with a little girl who was really melting down, and I heard her saying, hey, come on, let's try one of your breathing strategies, and she was going through it with her, and, I thought, well, wow, like if a 16-year-old kid can get it, then I know our staff can as well. We just got to keep working. And I want to say, my husband and I have been in some very, very dark and difficult places with our son, where I felt like maybe there was not going to be hope. Would he even be able to stay in school and finish school? And he still obviously has some really challenging days, and things that would be hard for any child are exponentially hard for him. And we've been through kind of a difficult 4 to 6 weeks recently with some challenges in our family and the death of my husband's father. But we're able to recover much quicker. He's on the honor roll at East Hardin. He was successfully in the Central Hardin Marching Band this fall. We've come a long way. And I don't give the two of us the credit. I give a lot of people in our lives who have supported us, who have taught us, educated us, his EBD teacher all the way through elementary school, lots of people. And I firmly believe that had all of those things not fallen in place, he would not be the successful kid that he is. So then when I look at our kids in Hardin County schools, and I know there are a lot of kids that fall in that category, and not all of them have a parent who's going to be advocating to the extent that we have. So it falls on our staff to have to intervene and work for those kiddos and make a difference, because if you study the results of what happens when this particular population of students are not supported, it's a very bleak picture for their future. So it's important work. I plan to keep advocating and continuing to educate people. I just believe that we can make a difference, and I believe that we just need the right tools and the right mindset out there to make it happen. So, do you have any questions specifically about what I learned or what we did in the district?
I have a question about how you develop the kits.
Sure.
That, to the degree that sounds pretty useful that you ended up with a kit that kids were willing to go seek out when they needed it, and that could really help some classroom management things.
Yes.
So how did you do that?
Yes. So I spent an entire class that I was in just spending time researching what in the published research, what works. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of research that's really out there yet. It's still kind of a new area. But I looked specifically at a lot of occupational therapy, physical therapy research, looked at a lot. Actually spoke to our OTs in the district, our physical therapists, spoke to a lot of different therapists, counselors that I know. And a lot of it does have to do with sensory input and giving them the opportunity to stretch things and click things and move and do something with that frustration other than flipping chairs or hitting someone else, or at my school, biting, and some of the things that we experience. So it's really a distraction as much as anything. So a lot of it was research-based, but then also talking to people that are actually using tools and said, hey, what works for your kids? So I would love to see that be the norm in every classroom.
So it sounds like if the kids are able to go do that, then the teacher can focus on the other kids in the classroom a lot more too.
Well, and the desire, the big goal would be that over time, if you learn that you can regulate yourself, then the next time that comes up, you're going, oh, wait. And a lot of that comes from when a baby is little and a mama rocks them, that movement controls their vestibular system and helps them to learn to regulate. So if you've not had that, like my son didn't have that until he was 3. And so he didn't learn how to regulate. So then if somebody cuts in front of him in line in kindergarten, he's going to lose his mind because he has no idea how to handle that frustration. So a lot of it is just giving our kids what they never received, and it just looks a little bit different.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, thank you all so much, and I appreciated the support throughout the whole process. It was wonderful. So, thank you
very much.
Thank you. Really interesting.
All right, Dr. Hayes is amazing. Is she not? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Leif Tab. Yeah, Leif Tab is our Director of Instructional Technology, and he's going to give our departmental update this evening.
Tough act to follow there. I wish I could have gone first. Can I request that next time? Yeah. Technology department update for this year. Just want to kind of shout out to my team there. Got Lori Love is our clerk. She handles a lot of our E-rate paperwork. She handles all of our purchase orders using KETS funds across the district at all our schools. She getting quotes for people. She has a lot on her plate. She does a great job for us. We have 3 network administrators. Wayne Simpson is a new one for us. Tim Calvert and Michael Arnold. Have an AV tech, Kevin Montgomery. He takes care of all of our cameras across the district, which we have 1,200 of. He installs access control for our doors. He takes care of intercoms in our buildings. A lot of stuff falls on his plate. Lucky to have him. Maintenance technician Anthony Sanders. He runs a lot of wiring for us and takes care of drops, getting us the technology where we need it. And then we have technicians out in the buildings. Chris Fitzpatrick, Garrett Malachek, Christian Bone, Brian Whitlock, and I actually have 2 open positions at the moment that I'm interviewing for. And then we have our digital learning coach, Kate Farrow, so she's done great. And you notice some names missing on that last page. Steve Boone has been with the district for 29 years. This was his 30th year. His last day's tomorrow. He's been instrumental in this district in the technology that goes on here. He was started in '94 for us, but before that he worked as a contractor a lot with our schools, with Tandy and a couple other companies, putting just our first computers in the building kind of. And then we hired him to kind of build our network, and he's built it from the ground up. So we're trying to replace him. That's not going to be an easy job. We've been getting as much out of him the past couple of months as we can, but it's going to be an interesting transition going away from him. And then also Bowdy Lanham, he's been with us for 25 years. He's a technician. He takes care of central office, takes care of John Hardin, Bluegrass, New Highland, and Burkhead. He's leaving at the end of this month as well. So we have a lot of transition going on. These are 2 guys that whole lot of knowledge walking out the door here this month. So we've got our hands full. Work orders. We handle work orders for all computers, Chromebooks, tablets, printers, projectors. Security cameras, like I said, PA systems, phones. And so far this year, we've handled 4,300 of those across the district. Which that's, when I was looking at last year's numbers about this time, it's a little bit down. So that was kind of surprised by that. We had about 5,000 about this time last year. So it's interesting how it ebbs and flows. So after over the past couple of years, we've had a 1-to-1 initiative for our Chromebooks for our students for grades 3 through 12. We started that at the beginning of kind of our COVID times. We used ESSER funds from the government for that, and then emergency connectivity funds, which is from the FCC. We got a big chunk from them to take care of Chromebooks in the district. So those were all temporary funds, and I've worked with Finance Department and Ms. Morgan, and we've kind of come up with a plan to continue those Chromebooks going forward. Chromebooks, they're great devices, but they're not built. They're cheap. They're $300 devices, so you're getting a cheap device. They don't last the test of time and the test of middle schoolers typically. That's where we have our most work orders on Chromebooks from, middle school. So we're trying to get 5 years out of them. That's our goal, is try to get 5 years out of these devices. So we have a plan in place going forward to replace 1/5 of our inventory every year to kind of keep that rolling. So we have that in place. Also with Chromebooks, like I said, they get broken a lot. Things happen to them. They fall off desks. There's some odd things that happen to them that come into our office. I won't go into it here, but so to take care of that, a lot of times with broken devices, we have parts we need to use. So we need that centrally located. The techs really can't have parts at all of our schools. So what they do, they fix what they can at the buildings. If they can't fix it there, they send it to our office. And what we've done is hire student workers, part-time student workers. This is our 3rd year doing it this way, where they come to us in the afternoon and work a couple hours from EC3, their IT pathway. We take seniors in the IT pathway. We pay them $10 an hour to come in and fix Chromebooks. And so far this year, they've fixed 1,044. It is a huge benefit for us. It's great experience for those kids. It's just been a great experience. If we didn't get them next year, that we would have a problem. I mean, they've been great, and the kids we've worked with have been, it's been a great experience all around. So I hope we get to continue that going forward. And we've recently completed some big projects. Another one of our ESSER projects was interactive panels in our classrooms. We moved away from projectors. Projectors have a lot of costs with them, bulbs and taking care of all that, filters. We moved to interactive panels, that's the new thing. We've got all those installed. We finished that project up this summer. We also used some ESSER funds to replace some aging phone systems. So now everybody's on the same phone system. Should last us a good long while. Let's see, I think we finished that up back in the spring. There was about 8 to 10 schools we had to finish up with that. And then we rewired some of our buildings to get them up to standard. Some of our older buildings that hadn't gone through a remodel in that time. That was a big project that we used E-rate funding for. So we apply every year for E-rate funds. We're eligible. We get a discount percentage on networking gear, wiring, anything for connectivity. You can't use it on devices or anything like that, but it's all about connectivity. So the switch gear in our closets, the networking gear back in my office that feeds all the schools, that kind of stuff, and the wires in the building, that's the kind of stuff that we can get E-rate funds for. And so when we apply for those funds, we get an 80% discount. So we pay 20% of those projects. So that's a huge deal for us. I think we go in 5-year cycles. It's about a 5-year budget of about $3 million is what we are approved for. So we pay 20% of that over 5 years. That's kind of how we get some of our networking gear. So we've got a couple years left in the current cycle that we're working on. And so going forward in those currents in that cycle, we're wanting to upgrade our wireless access points. That's kind of our next big project. That's what I'm going to be applying for this year. Can't do that all in 1 year. That's a huge project. So I'm trying to break that up over 3 years. So over the next 3 years, that's kind of our big thing to do, is get new wireless up to the next kind of standard that's out there. And then our Chromebook replacement cycle that I talked about earlier. That's another big thing that takes a lot of time and manpower to do that, to refresh those Chromebooks every summer. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Leif, when we have a new school, so we'll be at some point building a new West Hardin, does the state give us extra funds for a new building, or are you expected to do that from in-house funds?
Yeah, we don't get any extra technology funds for that.
not.
Yeah.
How are the technology
Just wanted
funds
that
set?
on.
How are the technology funds set?
How are they set? So we get some KETS, what's called KETS funding from the state. It's their E-rate. It's their E-rate reimbursement for what they pay for our internet pipe, basically. So they get their 80% discount. They take that 80% and they disperse it to the districts by enrollment. Okay. So they give us the past 5 years, it's been $21 per student, and you guys match that every year. And we just did that, I think, last month, or maybe the month before, October. So basically, the KETS funds that we deal with are like $42 per student per year. And really, when you break that down and that's not a lot. It doesn't cover everything. It covers a small amount. It couldn't cover Chromebooks, that kind of thing. So we give some of the money to the schools to use for their, technology needs at the school. We keep a chunk of it in my office to pay for our 20% of the networking gear and that kind of stuff, and things that aren't eligible. There's not everything eligible as E-rate or KETS. So that's how, and we do it by enrollment too. I disperse it to the schools by enrollment. Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Wow. You got a pretty big system.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, next is recognitions of visitors, and I think we've had one visitor sign up, Brett Shepard? Yes. We'll have you come to our podium right there.
So first, ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to address you briefly. Really, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna let you know before you got started, we'll pause. We just always try and keep speakers to 3 minutes.
You bet.
and-
I'll do
okay.
my best.
Just
Thank
wanted to
you.
let you know what that was, what
Okay.
that was for. Go ahead.
So really, I'm here tonight to just advocate on behalf of my son Gunnar, and really, I'm asking this board for an exception to policy to allow him to finish the wrestling season with the Central Hardin Middle School. So Gunnar is a homeschool child. We homeschool him. We're an active duty military family. And last year, he wrestled on the Central Hardin Middle School team. And the way he was able to do that was because they had a private club that was associated with both the high school and the middle school team, which allowed homeschooled children to participate. And we were active members of that club. We raised money for them. We participated in all the tournaments. And Gunnar, most importantly, established incredible friendships, relationships, and his coaches love him, his teammates love him, and we'd like him to be able to continue this season. About a month into the season, we were informed through his coaches that Central Hardin High School officials determined that he was not eligible to play on the wrestling team because he was homeschooled, and so he had to leave the team. And folks have gone out of their way to try to find, to accommodate him with other wrestling venues, private clubs, things of that nature. But he's just missing out, and he wants to be with his team. And the season, there's about a month left. And so, and in granting an exception to policy under this circumstances, in Kentucky, it's not a right to play state, but districts have the authority and the discretion to allow homeschooled children to play. So that's entirely this board's discretion. And here, I don't think this board would establish a precedent by allowing Gunnar to play, just because there's some very unique circumstances surrounding why he was deemed ineligible by the high school, I believe it was the athletic director. And then, so finally, the circumstances under which that club was disbanded or disallowed, I believe this board has already doing a deep dive into the facts and circumstances surrounding that. But I think it's important that individuals at your level have visibility on what occurred there. And so that's my prayer to you all this evening, is that this boy be allowed to wrestle. That was his Christmas wish. He wanted to wrestle with his team. He loves his team. And then finally, just in terms of homeschool kids and being able to participate in public school athletics, 20 states in our union, homeschool kids have the right to play. Kentucky is not like that. And so just in the future, if there's ever legislative proposals submitted by a state representative, or if there's other military families in a similar position, I would just ask that you pause and consider whether or not we should allow these kids to play. And my wife has prepared a letter which is much more eloquent than anything I could say at this podium. And so I'm going to sit down because my time is over, but I would just ask that you read the letter that she's prepared for you. And again, the high school team season, or the middle school team season, is almost over. And I would just ask by the new year a decision one way or the other. But and I thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think he forgot to mention that we've been here previously, about 10 years ago. We're property owners. Then we were here for 4 years. We've only been here for a year and a half, and we're getting ready to move to Pennsylvania as well, come June. So, if you were to grant this exception, it would really only be for this month. And then we're on to the next duty station, so.
Thank you. We'll take a look at all this,
Thank you,
okay?
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, that was the only visitor that we had sign up. And construction updates, we heard from both Alliance and JRA at our noon meeting. Things at Central are moving along fairly well. Had a little bit of change in dates and substantial completion now, I think May, is that right, John? So, still trying to get that under roof and get things moving, but all in all, I think things are moving fairly well. Just a little bit of a delay, and hopefully that's all it is, and we don't have any more. We also got to tour the school today, both some of the new parts that are finished and new parts that are under construction, and it's exciting as to what is to come once we can get it done. And Anybody else have anything else on construction they want to add? All right, the consent agenda. We're approving the comprehensive, district improvement plan and the comprehensive school improvement plans for the 23-24 school year. Approve a modified schedule for a student with disability. Approve the 24-25 school calendar. I think everyone will see that we took into consideration everybody's strong opinions on fall break, and I think we've got that taken care of. Approval of the Family Resource and Youth Services Center District Assurances Certification for 24-26. Approval of Central Hardin softball team to travel to Fort Walton Beach, Florida, via commercial carrier. Approval of the contract for the flock safety camera security system. Receive monthly financial reports, regular financial services. We're approving a $1,000 donation from the Hardin County Education Association for the Family Resource and Youth Centers to assist students and their families. Also a $1,600 donation from Farm Credit to Lakewood Elementary's agricultural instruction. And approval to employ Dean Dorton as auditors for Hardin County Schools through June 30, 2026. Having to make a change there due to retirement of our auditor. Approval of Phase 2 renovation project bids. Got a couple that we're still gonna have to wait on, but for the most part, we were able to get those in. Approval of, and for once in a long time, came in a little bit under what we were expecting, so that was good. Approval of the CPS cooler boiler quote for the old Lincoln Trail Elementary. Some change orders for Central Hardin. Approval of the BG1 for North Hardin High School greenhouse. BG5 for site acquisition for the new West Hardin Middle School. And a approval of a bus donation to Hardin County Emergency Services for use as a mass casualty unit. I think we're gonna have some EC3 students help with that as well. We've got some certified personnel actions, classified personnel actions, approval of the creation of an assistant coach position for academic teams when the team has over 20 participants. Approval of the change to the Director of Buildings and Grounds position from 261 days, 8 hours per day, to 240 days, 7.5 hours per day. And we received SBDM minutes and board minutes. Also received a copy of the changes to board procedures. And that's it on the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to discuss, take out?
Madam Chair, I'll move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have a few action items tonight. The first is to approve the date and time and location for the January 2024 regular lunch and evening board meetings. We'll approve for the rest of the year on the January, or at the January board meeting, but we need to get that set for now. And that is for January 18th, the lunch meeting to be at Meadowview Elementary, and then on January 18th, 6 o'clock, the regular evening meeting here at Central Office.
Madam Secretary, so moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have an approval to obtain the Bryant Law Center to represent Hardin County Schools in social media litigation. This is something going on that is not going to be at any cost to the district, but that mainly we would just be supporting, and then if there's any recovery from, we would be in place to receive that.
I will move that we approve to enter into the agreement with the Bryant Law Center and to participate in the social media litigation that they are currently representing other school districts in, understanding that it has no we have no obligation financially or otherwise as a result of this contract.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the last one is approval of a pilot agreement with Blue Oval. And pilot agreement is a payment in lieu of taxes based on the fact that they, through their various bonding and agreements with the state, are not paying other taxes. And so we have been working with an agreement with them to still pay money to the district in lieu of those taxes. And we are going to be experiencing a lot of growth, a lot of expenses in the district due to everything that Blue Oval is going to be bringing in. It's an exciting time, but it's also a big time with lots of decisions and lots of expenses. So we're thankful that we've been able to work something out so that they can help contribute to some of that.
Yeah, and I think it's important for the record that people know that under this agreement, we're receiving the full amount that we would have received had it been on the regular tax rolls of Hardin County. So we are not giving up a dime by entering into this agreement.
That's right.
So, Madam Secretary, I move that the Hardin County Board of Education approve the agreement for payment in lieu of taxes between the Hardin County Board of Education and Blue Oval SK.
And I'll second that.
Yep. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that's all our action items.
Yes.
If that was enough.
That's
It was
That's
a lot for, yes, I believe it is. I don't think we have any new business. And superintendent's report.
Now, this is just a big shout out to our staff for the first half of the school year. Incredible work was done in our classrooms with our morphology, Orton Gillingham, as well as our project-based learning. And I'll be excited to show you all the results when we come back after winter break of how we have seen our students move forward in growth academically, and then also the extracurricular activities, that our students participate in, which requires coaches and teachers, and we greatly appreciate all of our staff making that possible for our students. And a huge shout out to our Human Resources Department, who continues to work hard to make sure we have great teachers in our classroom and support staff to help us move forward. A couple of other things. We were notified yesterday that we received a grant for $100,000, and that grant will go to transforming a bus into a preschool classroom that we can move around the county and get to those students who sometimes don't have those opportunities. Ms. Hayes discussed the importance of early childhood and just working with those families and those students and getting the best jump start possible for those. So very appreciative to Ms. Vowles for the grant that she wrote, and Ms. Sharon for working with her on that grant. And I can assure you that $100,000 will be put to great use in that endeavor. So happy holidays to everyone. However you celebrate, I hope you do so safely and with family and create great memories. And as I tell our staff, disconnect and reconnect. Disconnect your phones, your iPads, your computers. I'll take my advice on that for a couple of days and just reconnect with your families. So that's it, Chairman.
All right. And we do not need an executive session, correct?
No, ma'am.
Board calendar, December 20th through the 29th is winter break. School is dismissed. 25th, Christmas Day, offices closed. The 26th, offices closed. Also, December 29th and January 1st, offices are closed. January 2nd, school is dismissed for Professional Learning Day. And then out of school January 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then we will have our next board meeting on January 18th. So with that,
Madam Secretary, I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a Merry Christmas.